Yes, this is the first Clean Air Forum. It is a very, very important forum because we are very much concerned about the air quality. Obviously, we are breathing better air than we used to do a decade or so, but the problem still persists and our efforts still have to go on. Just to give you an idea about the problem of bad air quality, it's not just an environmental problem, it's more so a health problem as well. We have 400,000 premature deaths due to bad air quality in Europe, not to mention the chronic diseases, which is also a consequence, and the economic costs. It's costing the European Union some 20 billion euros each and every year to cope with this problem. It's a number of problems happening in a number of member states. Just to give you an idea, at the moment we have some 30 infringements in 20 member states. Obviously, the problem is at different levels, but mostly the problem is in urban areas. The main sources of the problem worldwide is the industry, transport, agriculture, power generation, but in urban areas it's mostly the transport factor. Why? Because transport is at ground level and it affects immediately the citizens. We have some 75% of European citizens living in urban areas, and 20% of those living in urban areas are living and breathing air quality which is above the European limits. Well, the European Commission uses both the carrot and the stick. What I mean is that we encourage member states, we support member states, obviously we put on rules, regulations and directives. On the other hand, we use the sticks when we see that member states are not delivering. And as I mentioned, we have 30 infringements in 20 member states, 20 member states out of 28. The idea is not to keep on coming up with infringements, but the idea is to support and to help these cities, because mostly it's in the main capital cities, to cope with this problem. At the moment, just to give you an idea, we are discussing and we are revising the Clean Vehicle Directive, whereby we are pushing our car industry to reduce their emissions. No, the infringements are taken very, very seriously. This is something which is ongoing, not just discussions, but also action. And there have been cases where obviously the infringements have been taken up at a higher level. This is something that we are continuously pushing for. It's important, as I said, not just for the environment, but also for the health of our citizens. And we do understand that the problem, it's not a small problem, it's a big problem, as I said, especially in urban areas where the bad air quality is mostly concentrated. So when we push against a member state, it doesn't mean that the whole area of that member state is breathing bad air quality. But the problem is, as as I said, mostly concentrated in urban areas where it is affecting a lot of our citizens. And yes, we do take our infringement seriously. We do push our member states to not just to comply with the rules, but to enforce standards as well. And I have to say that improvements have been ongoing. As I said in the very beginning, that there was an improvement in the air that we are breathing today as compared to what we were breathing a couple of decades ago. Well, there is a process, there is a procedure for the infringements, and obviously we have to comply with that procedure, but I can assure you there is no way that we are delaying any infringement when it comes to air quality. Yes, very much so. In fact, I think at some point in time, the European Union will have to start thinking about phasing out totally the combustion engine. But that is not the discussion today. As I said, we are reviewing the clean vehicle directives to make certain that the cars which will be coming on our roads through or from the European industry will have much lower emissions. We're looking towards at zero and lower emissions for the new generation of cars that we have to put on the market in the very near future. When it comes to tax matters, it is up to the member states to decide. But I can tell you that most of the member states are phasing out, if they have not already phased out, these incentives for diesel engines. There was a time when everyone thought that diesel engines were less polluting than petrol engines. Obviously, we were proven wrong, and now we have to do something about diesel engines as well. The ideal solution, as I said, would be if we were to phase out the combustion engine and bring in the electric cars I won't say of the future, but because electric cars are the present cars in a number of countries. I think the solution doesn't lie with the diesel engines alone. It's a complex problem, and I think it needs a complex solution in the sense that we need a mix of solutions. We need to phase out diesel, we need to phase in electric, we need to reduce the emissions of the combustion engine. We need, as there are some mayors already doing, decrease the access to city centers. We need to green more our cities. We need to give access more to pedestrians. So it's not one solution for one problem. It's a number of solutions that together will give us the better air quality that we all want. That is what is being discussed at the moment, and I think we will be reaching a good and a balanced way forward. But this is what we are discussing at this moment. Yes, we are pushing for lower emissions in the shortest possible time, but obviously we have to take into considerations the economic factors of our car industry as well. Yes, in fact, as you mentioned yourself, there are some member states which have already announced that they will be phasing out the combustion engine and diesel engines on their own It was their own decision. We did not push them, but obviously we will continue pushing for the minimum standards in our member states. Yes, that they will obviously have to bring in cars produced with the minimum levels of emissions, that we will be encouraging them to reduce access. We will be encouraging them not just verbally but also through schemes to green their cities, to offset the air quality pollution, and to make citizens also more aware, because at the end of the day it's not just the member states, the citizens have got the choices. It's up to each and every citizens to choose which car to drive, and the quality of the air that the citizens expect, they have to contribute to that themselves as well. Yes, this is what we are discussing at the moment. Obviously, we want to be as ambitious as possible, but then again, this is not just the decision which is being taken just by the European Commission. There is Parliament, there is Council, there is the involvement of the industry as well. As soon as possible, as soon as possible. I think in some areas we are already late, and we cannot afford to keep postponing or putting under the carpet this very, very serious problem. It is. The European Commission is taking all sources of pollution very seriously. It's not just transport, it's agriculture, it's power generation, it's the industry, it's shipping, as you said. And I know that the Commission is taking this very seriously, not just at an EU level, but the Commission is pushing this issue at the IMO level when it comes to shipping pollution. The more transport there is, the more emissions there will be. The only way that we can, as I said, that we can combat this pollution, even knowing that transport will increase, is by reducing substantially the emissions, not just on the roads by the cars, but as you said, on our oceans, on our seas, by the shipping industry as well.